Eagles Nation, and of course, NFL fans out there. Happy new NFL season. Before the season gets going, I usually try to do a NFL predictions vid where I try to break down who I think are going to win the divisions, the wild cards, and then who's going to be representing the NFC, AFC, and in the Super Bowl. And I've done well with it over the years. I really haven't. I think I got it right one year. As far as the Super Bowl goes, that's the year where it was Seattle and Denver. But let's see how I do this year. So going into a new season, and it can be difficult at times to predict these things, but I try the best I can. So let's go with the division winners first, and then I'll go with the wild cards per conference. So we'll start with the NFC. I'll start with the NFC, which is basically the home conference for me. I'll go east to west, and then I'll break down who I think will get the wild cards. First off, the NFC East. As I said before in the last vid, I do feel the Eagles are going to win the division. So I gotta keep them in there as the division champs for 2017-2018. The NFC South, and this is always an interesting division because like the NFC East, it seems that a different team just about every year wins the division. Last year, obviously, Atlanta won it en route to them going to the Super Bowl, coming up just short against the Patriots. It's tough to pick against them. It's always, the following year, it's always tough to pick against, certain teams. And Atlanta last year had such a good year. But the fact that they lost the Super Bowl, sometimes that has a bit of a carryover. So we've seen this in teams in recent years. Carolina certainly did that last year. We've seen other teams that fall short, have kind of a disappointing year, kind of struggle a bit. It doesn't always happen that way, but it seems like there are times where it does. And I don't know what it is. I just feel like Carolina was one of the more disappointing teams a year ago. And I think that they did enough this offseason. I really like the addition of McCaffrey. I really like the addition of McCaffrey to them. And I think he's going to be a dynamic player in this league. And there's just something about Carolina. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't quite know exactly why I'm going with Carolina over Atlanta and even over Tampa Bay, who made some improvements. But you know what? I'm going with Carolina. I'm going with Carolina to win the NFC South in a tight division like the NFC East is going to be. The NFC North, I don't think will be as tight. And I think it's pretty clear cut that Green Bay is going to win the division again this year. I think Detroit will give them chase. I really don't believe in Minnesota. I mean, they got Sammy Sleeves there at quarterback, and we know about Sammy Sleeves here. So I like their defense, but I do not believe in that offense at all. Not with the quarterback. I don't know much about the running game there, the receivers. There's just a lot of ifs and what could be's that you just don't know. And what's the quarterback situation going to be like when Bridgewater might be ready to come back? It's just, I don't know. They seem to be a team that's a bit in flux on offense. Defense, very good. But I don't think they're going to be good enough as a whole to really give chase to Green Bay, Detroit. So I like Green Bay to win the division with Discount Double Check, doing his thing again. Mr. Hail Mary. And then the West, I got to go Seattle. I do think it's going to be a pretty good division this year. I think Arizona will give them challenge. I think the Rams could even be better. I mean, by better, maybe meaning by a couple more wins. The Niners, can't get much worse than what they were a year ago, so they'll probably be a bit better. Maybe a little more stable, this season. But I do think it's going to be a two-team race in that division, and I think it's Seattle over Arizona in the NFC West. The two wild cards, and this is tough because they're two really good divisions in the NFC. The Cardinals could really be a wild card in all. Pardon the pun. the Cardinals could literally be a wild card in all of this. Really, depending on what they do, could depend on who the second wild card's going to be. But I do believe the first wild card will come out of the NFC East, and I'm going to say that the Giants get the second wild card in the NFC, or the first wild card in the NFC East. The second one, this is where it gets tricky, because there's a few teams that I feel could get this second wild card. It could be from the NFC East again. It could be Dallas. Although I do say this, I think last year, with when you had some of the divisions kind of having a little bit of a down year, the Cardinals were disappointing, the Panthers were disappointing. I mean, it did kind of open the door for some other teams, but I do believe that, in my humble opinion, the second wild card's either going to come out of the NFC East or NFC South. I think the Cardinals, again, could be, could throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing, right? But I'm going to go with, so I like the Giants as my first wild card. My second wild card, and this is tricky, this is a real coin flip, and I'm not saying this based on my hatred for Dallas, but which I do have, but I'm gonna give it to Atlanta. I'm gonna give it to the Falcons only because, even though they finished, a hair away from winning a Super Bowl. And I do think that might play a role into them not getting the division title. I still think they're a very solid team. I don't think Tampa Bay is quite there. And they're going to really, it's going to be a battle in that division. It really is. I mean, even the Saints could be better this year, so it could be a real battle for that division. I like Carolina to win the division, to bounce back and win the division, but I got to give a wild card at least to another team in that division. And I'm going to give it to Atlanta based off what I saw a year ago in the growth process of some of their players. I mean, Matt Ryan really stepped up, had an MVP season. Julio Jones looked unstoppable at times. Devontae Freeman was dynamic. I love that offense, and that defense can play. And I just don't know enough about Tampa Bay's offense. I think Jameis Winston going forward is going to have a really nice career. They gave him some more weapons this offseason. Our old friend Djax is now there. Hard knocks and everything. I get that. But I just don't know. I don't know if they're fully ready. I don't know about their running game too much. And I like the addition of TJ Ward to that secondary. I think their defense is going to ball. But I just don't know. Jameis Winston always seems to have the turnovers at the wrong times. And their running game is still a bit of a question mark for me. So I got to give the edge there. If I got to go head-to-head, Atlanta or Tampa, I still got to give the edge slightly to the Falcons, only because of what they can do offensively and the fact that their defense can ball as well. And they got a new stadium, which looks pretty nice. So I got to give a little edge, a slight edge to Atlanta to sneak in there as the other wild card. I know the Dallas fans are, what about us? What about us? Well, I know. But you won a lot of games last year, and sometimes teams that do that, when, going into that season, they weren't really expected to do something like that, there can be a bit of a hangover the next year, and there could be that deal that people have a book on them now. Winning games aren't going to be as easy for them this season, I don't believe. Particularly with the fact that they might be without one of their top players in Zeke Elliott for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. I haven't heard anything if the suspension was reduced or if it was completely taken off the board as of yet. But if he is still suspended, even if it is reduced to 4 games, that's still tough. And you can't tell me that McFadden and Morris are going to be the difference makers. That's a tough schedule they have this year, and it's a tough start to the schedule. So if they struggle out of the chute, it's going to be tough. In this division, as I said last week, it's going to be really tough to come back from it. And I think that, coupled with the fact that now people have a sort of book on them, and I don't believe in their defense at all. I think it was one of the biggest smoke and mirrors defenses a year ago in the league, and that's going to really hamper them. That is going to be their detriment this season. You mark it down. So I have them out of the playoffs this year. I have Atlanta sneaking in there over them and over Tampa Bay this year. And that's just my opinion. So take it for what it's worth. All right, so I have the Eagles in the NFC East. I got Carolina in the NFC South. The NFC North, I have Green Bay, and in the West, I have Seattle. My wild cards, again, are the Giants and the Falcons to get those two wild cards. Whether they're 1 or 2, I mean, who knows? I mean, I just put, 1 and 2. It could easily be the Falcons that gets in at 1 and the Giants. I mean, who knows? But those are my 2 wild cards. The AFC, and I'm going to go west to east now. AFC West. This is a tough division, right? You had some teams, certainly the Raiders took a huge step a year ago. The Chiefs were still there in a playoff spot. I think the Chargers are going to be better this year. I really do. I think that they are going to be one of those kind of surprise teams this season. But that being said, I don't think that gives them a division title. Health, of course, all things considered, I still got to go with the Raiders. They look really good on both sides of the ball. And again, health has been one of their big problems over the years. We know this. Even last year, losing, Carr into the playoffs, and then good old Matt McGloin in the playoffs. But I think the Raiders, and all things considered, if they can stay healthy, I don't think they're going to lose that division title this year. I think they repeat as AFC West division champs in a tough division, but I think they repeat. AFC, let's go north. I got to go with Pittsburgh. I think that, that division is one of those divisions where, before you had Cincinnati winning it every year, right? You couldn't win a playoff game. Pittsburgh got it last year, and they go to the AFC title game, losing at New England, and they're still strong, and they're still going to be strong for a number of years, as long as they have Roethlisberger, Bell, and Brown, right? Big Ben, Bell, and Brown, the killer bees there in Pittsburgh. They're still going to be really good. That defense is pretty good. The addition to Joe Hayden, I think, solidifies the secondary. So I got to go with Pittsburgh again to win that division. The AFC South, again, I wish I knew more about the quarterback on this team. I really like Watson. He was one of my guys in college. Of course, won a national championship with Clemson last season. Great game against Alabama, and I really like him. And I kind of wish he was the quarterback, but it looks like they're going to go with oh God, I forget his name. He was the quarterback there last year. Looks like they're going to go with him, with Watson having to wait. But the thing I like about Houston is their defense. Even with the revolving door they've had at quarterback for a number of years, that defense balls every year. Even without J.J. Watt last year for most of the season, they were balling out. And you got to give them credit. I don't know if Indianapolis can really challenge them this year. I think the one team that can would be Tennessee. I really like what the Titans did last year. I think they're going to be solid. I think they'll be in the mix, but I think in the end it's just going to be Houston. I think that's been Houston's division for a number of years, and it will continue that way. So I like the Texans to win the division in the AFC South yet again. And now we go to the AFC East. I gotta say I like Buffalo. No, I don't. I got you on that one. Huh? No, you got to go with the Patriots, right? Come on, you go chalk there. That's just the easiest one to say. Yeah, the New England Patriots, the defending Super Bowl champs, the GOAT, at quarterback, and good old Hoodie there, at the head coach. As long as they have those two, they're probably still going to win the division just about every year. And this year will be no different. They'll win the division. They'll get in, even with the loss of Edelman on the season. It's just going to be who next up for them. Some other receiver will go there and become this household name by the end of the year, right? It's the Patriots. They're going to win the division again. And I don't think they're going to be challenged, to be honest. I think Miami, looks okay. I don't know. It's just one of those, okay, you're still not winning the division over the Patriots. So you got to go Patriots there. The wild cards. You know what? This is going to be crazy. The wild cards, I think, out of the AFC this year, first of all, you got to give it to Kansas City. I really like San Diego this year, but I don't know if I like them enough to give them a wild card spot. Because of two factors. One, you got Kansas City. It's like with the Patriots, right? It's just that the old standby, right? They get in just about every year. Why not just have them come in again this year? So you gotta like Kansas City to get one of the spots. Although I think they will get pressed by San Diego this year. I think they will get pressed. Denver, I just don't know about the quarterback. I like their defense, but I mean the quarterback situation, I just don't know enough about. So I think that it could be Denver finishes last this year in that division. It could happen. It really could happen. As crazy as it sounds for a team that won the Super Bowl a few years ago, for them to be coming in last place in that division this year, but it could happen if the quarterback situation just is not stable there. So I like Kansas City to get one of the wild cards, and I'm going to throw my vote of confidence to the other wild card in the AFC, to Tennessee. You know, it's been a while since they've been in the playoffs. I like what they're doing. Marcus Mariota looks good. Murray in that system seems good. You know, that defense looks pretty good. And I do think they could challenge Houston for the division title. I do think Houston wins it. Excuse me, but I think Tennessee's going to challenge. They're not going to get it, but I think they get rewarded with a playoff spot this year, making it as the second, wild card out of the AFC. All right, so recap: AFC in the East, of course, the Patriots. The South, I like Houston edging out Tennessee. In the North, Pittsburgh, slam dunk there. And in the West, I like Oakland to repeat as division champs in the West. The wild cards I have are Kansas City and Tennessee. So those are that's my AFC bracket. Now you look at Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota. Second-year stadium, right, this year. It's tough. I mean, there's going to be some good teams in the playoffs, and there's going to be some good games and good battles going on. But I got to go with the Patriots again. Until they don't make it, that's when you say, okay, maybe their time is starting to wobble a little bit. But even without Edelman, they're still going to score their points. I mean, they're still going to do what they do, and they're going to get back in the Super Bowl. Stop me if you heard this one before, the Patriots in the Super Bowl, right? But yeah, they're going to get back in representing the AFC. In the NFC, I would love to say my Eagles. I really would. I just don't know if they're quite ready to make that big leap. I think this is the year where they get a division, make the playoffs, win a playoff game, maybe even win 2 playoff games. Maybe get a first-round bye. Win a playoff game and go to the NFC title game. That would be awesome. But I just don't think they're just there to take that next huge leap into the big game, right? Maybe next season. Maybe next year. Hey, I would love it if they're in there. I would love it if they win it, for God's sakes, right? But I just don't know if they're there to take that big a leap just yet. Just yet. And again, I always keep it 100%, and so I got to continue on with that. So I'm going to go with the team out of the NFC to get to the Super Bowl. I'm going to have a Super Bowl rematch. Now, we know the Patriots are in there, and they played quite a few teams that are in my round of the playoffs in the Super Bowl already. So I'm going to go with a Super Bowl rematch of Super Bowl 38, which was the Super Bowl just before the Eagles lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. The Patriots beat the Carolina Panthers on that, that field goal. And I like the Panthers to get back to the Super Bowl this year. I think last year was a big slap in the face to them. I think it was a wake-up call for them. And I think there's a lot of prideful players on that team on both sides of the ball. And I think they'll be good enough to get back to the Super Bowl this year after a kind of off year last year. I look at some of the other teams in the NFC, and I can't say for certain if they're ready to take that next step. I know Atlanta was there last year, and deservedly so. But I think this year, with my prediction of them being a wild card, I think that's going to hurt them. Because then they have to go on the road and win some games. Last year they were at home and, in their cozy dome there. So they didn't have to deal with a lot of elements and such where they might have to deal with that this year. And, in the playoffs, and I think that might be the difference. So I think that Carolina, again, a kind of playoff battle-tested team from over the years, I think they get in there. And the Patriots and the Panthers do battle again, just like they did back in Super Bowl 38 in Houston that year. This year it will be in Minnesota. But I like the Patriots and the Panthers to battle in Super Bowl 52. Who's going to win Super Bowl 52? You just can't go against the GOAT, can you? Been there, done that. They find a way. Unless you chop their head off, they're going to win it. Or some crazy catch occurs. Helmet catch, sideline catch, They got away with the one. Jermaine Kearse catch, bobble catch, in the where they beat the Seahawks because of the dopey play call. But anyhow, they did win. Give them credit. But Marshawn Lynch, you probably should have just run beast mode into the end zone. No, just give them another. Okay. But yeah, I it's hard to go against the Patriots, and I think that they'll repeat. And you know what? They always use something, right, as motivation. There's always something, even for a team that's won as much as they have. There's always some. Oh, they don't think we can win without Gronk, huh? Oh, well, they can't. They always have something, right? So of course Edelman's out for the year, one of their leaders on the offense. Of course they can use that as motivation. Oh, no, they don't think we can do it. Oh yeah, we got these other guys. Yeah. They're just they just won't go away. I keep waiting. Hey, but you got to give credit where credit's due. They have just been amazing over the years, and they got us. In 2005, they got many teams. Haven't gotten the Giants though. It's just one of those mysteries of life. But they beat everyone else in the Super Bowl. But I got to give it to the Patriots again this year to repeat as Super Bowl champs and beat the Panthers in Super Bowl 52. In Super Bowl 53, well, that's going to be our year. Enough of the Patriots. But we'll wait till the preseason predictions next year for Super Bowl 53. That's my predictions for Super Bowl 52. Again, I have the Patriots beating Cam Newton again. The Panthers go down in the Super Bowl. Sorry to Panther fans. You guys might be 0-3 after this year. But you do get back representing the NFC only to fall to the GOAT and the Patriots. But, no shame in that, I guess. That's what they do. That's what they do. The machine keeps rolling on. Until we get them in Super Bowl 53. Oh, little preview for next year. Anyhow, we're going to save that for next year. Thank you all for watching my wonderful predictions. Of course, none of that will happen, but I do try, right, every season to bring my predictions and hope for the best. But anyhow, I will see you all in the next vid. I will hope, and I say hope, to have a little preview vid for Eagles-Redskins on Saturday. If I don't get to it, I don't get to it. And in that case, you'll see me after the Eagles-Redskins game for Week 1 of Season 4 now, of Season of the Fan, Philadelphia Eagles. The 2017-18 season is finally just about here. We're just, you can taste it now, just about there. Eagles at Redskins. Hey, come on, they have to beat them this year, right? Come on, enough of losing to the Redskins. Come on, let's go. But I will be back either with a preview of the Eagles-Redskins game or a wrap-up. Again, I'm not quite sure which will happen. I know for sure there'll be a wrap-up. But will the preview happen? We'll have to wait and see. But, depending on how busy I get this weekend. And then, of course, it's game day on Sunday, so I'm just locked in. I'm focused on the game. So you might not see me until after the Eagles-Redskins game, but you will see me then for sure. Enjoy the games, everyone. Happy NFL season. Let's get this thing going. And as always, let's go Birds, first and foremost, and let's get 2017-18 season off on the right foot. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next vid. Take care.